this time, please silence your cell phone and be advised these proceedings are being recorded for those physically present in the council chamber who desire to address the city council during the meeting. Please complete the request to speak form available at the front entrance of the council chamber and present it to the city clerk. Speakers physically present will be called upon at appropriate time. For each person is allowed 3 minutes of speaking time. Call this order convene a regular meeting at Tuesday, July 22nd at 6 p.m. The invocation will be given by Pastor Mark Matthews from Grandview Baptist Church. And Councilmember Brown, can you lead the Pledge of Allegiance? Sure. So please stand.
Let's pray. Father, again, we come before you, before the city council meeting, and ask your guidance and your blessings on this time. I thank you for each and every one, from the mayor all the way down to the council members and the city manager and those that are in law enforcement and EMTs, et cetera. What a blessing they are to our city. Pray that you would protect them and their families and guide them in your wisdom always. We want to commit this time to you. We believe firmly as Christians that you are in control of all governments and you've placed them in different places throughout the world. And we believe that's the case here as well. And so I ask that you guide the mayor and the council members and all those involved in making the decisions for our city. Thank you for everyone that's here. Pray that it'll be a productive meeting tonight, not only for the benefit of the city, but for your honor and glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor Mark. Thank you, Councilmember Brown. Madam City Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Brown? Here. Councilmember Allen?
Here.
Councilmember Wilson?
I am here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sabino?
Here.
Mayor Hussey?
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Item A, reordering additions or removal of items from agenda. Is there any removals or additions?
No additions or deletions.
Okay. Item B, public comment. This is opportunity for the members of the public to comment on any item not appearing on the regular agenda because of restrictions contained in California law. The City Council may not discuss or act on any item not on agenda. Maybe briefly respond to statements, but may briefly respond to statements made or ask questions for clarification. The mayor also request a brief response from staff to questions that arise during the public comment, or may request the matter be agendized for future meetings. Do we have any public comment?
Bobby Forbes?
Ms. Forbes?
Thank you. So I would like to thank Tabitha, your code enforcement officer, for getting that white truck towed from the dirt on Canal the other day. Let's hope that word spreads that they aren't allowed to park there. So that was a big project for her to take care of, and I'm thankful to the city supporting that and getting it done. Also, y'all know probably that there was a fire behind the La Tierra building on Barton Road, and it looks like possibly the fire department cut a hole in the front door, so the building needs to be boarded back up. It's so precise, I don't think the homeless guy that's staying there did it. So you probably did it. It won't secure the building any better, but it'll look a whole lot less inviting. And thank you. The street on Michigan looks so much better. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Forbes. Anybody else?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public comment. Special presentation on consent calendar. The following consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They may be acted upon by the city council at a time without discussion. Any council member or citizen may request removal of the item from the consent calendar. Is there any public comment on the consent calendar?
No, sir.
All right, so, okay. Do I have a motion and a second?
I'll make a motion to pass the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to, thank you. I'll have to excuse myself from item 5, check 82-521 for my reimbursement. And City Attorney, would you like to read?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have two ordinances on the consent calendar for second reading and adoption. I will read the title for both. The first one is item 3 on the consent calendar. It is ordinance number 370, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Grand Terrace, California, adding Chapter 12.60, mobile food trucks, to Title 12, streets, sidewalks, and public places of the Grand Terrace Municipal Code to regulate the operation of mobile food trucks within the City of Grand Terrace. The second ordinance is the very, very long one in agenda item number 4. It is ordinance number 369, and the title is as follows: An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Grand Terrace, California, amending Section 1.16.010, General Penalties of Title I, General Provisions, Section 2.44.020, Violation Penalty of Title II, Administration and Personnel, Section 3.08.150, Violation Penalty of Title III, Revenue and Finance, Sections 4.12.010, Fees Designated, 4.20.010, Fees Designated, 4.28.010, Fines Designated, 4.32.010, Generally, 4.36.010, Fines Designated, 4.44.010, Penalties Designated, 4.44.020, Fines Designated, 4.48.040, Violation of Section 12.08.310, 4.60, Conduct in Public Park, 4.64.010, Violation Penalty, 4.68.060, Violation Penalty, 4.105.010, Fines Designated of Title IV, Comprehensive Fee Schedules, Fines and Taxes, Sections 5.04.390, Violation Penalty, 5.42.190, Removal of Refuse of Title V, Business Taxes, Licenses and Regulations, Sections 6.04.050, Animal Noise, 6.32.030, Penalty Provision of Title VI, Animals, Sections 8.04.170, Violations, 8.08.180, Criminal Penalties, 8.68.130, Violation Penalty, 8.104.080, Same City Buildings and Facilities, 8.104.090, Same City Parks and Other Recreation Areas, 8.104.100, Smoking Waste, 8.108.060, Penalty for Violation, 8.112.200, Administrative Fines and Penalties of Title VIII, Health and Safety, Sections 9.05.030, Violation Penalty, 9.32.080, Violations and Penalties of Title IX, Public Peace, Morals, and Welfare, Section 10.04.640, Infraction Fine of Title X, Vehicles and Traffic, Sections 12.08.440, Fines for Failure to Obtain an Encroachment Permit, 12.24.060, Insurance Required, 12.32.020, Unlawful Acts, 12.32.140, Park Hours, 12.32.160, Vehicles and Parks, 12.32.170, Assemblies, Programs, or Festivals in Parks, 12.32.180, Smoking, 12.36.060, Violations, 12.48.060, Violation Penalty, 12.52.020, General Prohibition, 12.52.070, Penalties of Title 12, Streets, Sidewalks, and Public Places, Section 15.52.160, Violation Penalty of Title 15, Buildings and Construction, Sections 18.60.030, Parking Regulations, and 18.91.050, Declaration of Public Nuisance of Title 18, Zoning of the Grand Terrace Municipal Code to streamline the imposition of penalties, including infractions, misdemeanors, and administrative citations for code violations, and authorizing adoption of a schedule of fines by resolution. Thank you, Mayor and City Council.
I stopped writing after the second one. Can you repeat that again? Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and the ordinance is read. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. New business, future agenda items, request to establish a recreation park district, presented by Conrad.
Mr. Mayor, council members. Now I can see you guys. All right.
No, please put the flowers back. So.
So you don't have to see me. That's we had a future agenda item request for us to explore the possibilities of establishing a recreation and parks district. So this does meet, work with local, regional, and state agencies to secure funding for programs and projects. Park districts and recreation park districts are allowed by California state law as independent special districts. What that means is, well, we'll get to that, but it's basically designed to enhance park services, recreation, community outlets, and to develop independent funding streams for park systems. Establishing the park recreation district has some fairly specific steps that we have to follow, and it's essentially the same as establishing a brand new governmental agency. So once it becomes approved, the district becomes a new agency, just like the school district, the water district, the city. It would have to have its own board. There's an ability that if it's a city park district, that the board would be defined as the city council members, and that's not uncommon. And then it has to have some funding mechanism, some way to keep itself in business and actually take care of the parks and maintain them and provide the services. And those can be done via property taxes or assessment districts, or in some very unique cases, fees and use fees. I think I'm missing a slide. Darn. Okay, so the process to accomplish this is the city council would have to recommend the formation of a park district. We would then have to go to LAFCO, Local Agency Formation Commission. They would conduct a study on the financial viability of such a district, what the district borders would be. There would be environmental impact studies that we would have to pay for as part of this. This is like any developer that comes into the Grand Terrace to develop something has to pay for their studies. We would have to pay for our studies for this project. Then it would go to the public for an approval, and basically it's open for objections, and there's percentages of the public that would object to this. If it triggers above, I'm trying to remember what the exact number is. Sorry, I lost my slide. Trigger the exact number, but it's like 50%. Then it has to go to a special election, and then then it becomes an elected activity. So there is a long string of steps, and basically this process would then create another governmental agency that would also create a taxing basis, and part of the study would be are there city revenues that would then be diverted to the Parks District, or how does the Park District survive and provide the services? Are there overlapping services where the city keeps the parks or we give them to the district? So there's a lot of complicated questions, but the bottom line is we would be creating a brand new governmental entity that then would have some powers to generate revenue. So staff's recommendation with that is that at this point we take this as a receive and file, and that if there is a desire that we can get further direction, but at this point we're looking at a receive and file. Any questions or comments?
Council, questions? Councilman Allen?
Thanks for that report, Mr. City Manager. So that was my item that I had requested. I requested it because I was searching for funding sources and streams and ways to fund districts or ways to fund parks or ways to fund, you know, the things that we want to build in our city and have for our residents. And one of the things was that, you know, that I studied on was the formation of parks and recreation districts and how they're able, if they're well-funded, how they're able to provide good services. But, you know, I think that right now, this is just something, I've learned a lot from your staff report, and I just think that right now is not the right time for our city to have a parks and, or for us to do this. No, I think that we can manage our parks just as well without having to tack on another fee or tax or whatever onto people's property taxes. So thank you for the report and for the education. Appreciate that. That's what it's all about, learning. And yeah, we'll file this for a later time when it may be more appropriate. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, yeah.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Before we move to a vote and put this to bed, what is the cost of such studies? What's our range that we're looking at?
Typically, if a developer were to do that, we're 150, 200,000 and up.
And then if we were to also go for a special election, how much are we looking?
It would be folded into the regular election, but those are, you know, the add-on can be as much as $50,000, $60,000 to, you know, the ballot prep and everything else. And
So-
that's assuming that, you know, it is challenged and that it does go to election.
And so we're right there with just those two things. We're looking at about $200,000. And where does Grand Terrace fall with regard to property taxes in comparison to the rest of the county? Are we not the highest?
We are, in aggregate, probably up there. Not our property tax as far as what the city gets is the same as every other city in the county, but there's also school district taxes, other special district taxes that get added on to each parcel, and that's unique to different cities and unincorporated areas. You know, not in our county, but in Beaumont and Banning, they have a hospital district. You know, the property tax pays for the hospital there. So there are dependent upon the district, but it would add a tax to the one way or another. It would either remove funds from the city to the Parks District or add a supplemental tax to the residents.
And I know I've mentioned before that we cannot continue to, you know, live on the backs of the property owners. I feel that the property tax continues to go up, especially with the number of educational bonds that come through, that we continue to have to remit payment for. With regard to the city, is the city in a position to even carry the burden to divert funds away from our basic daily needs?
I think it would be painful because we have, you know, our maintenance group is split, and they may be fixing irrigation in the park one day and fixing potholes the next. So that group then would have to be split to parks guys and streets guys, and so our efficiency would be reduced and our cost would probably go up.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? So, Councilor Allen, are you making a motion to receive and file when you said it first?
Does that need a vote to receive and file?
Yes,
Yeah,
we recommend.
okay, just, sure. Motion, receive and file.
Councilor Brown, you have a question?
I do, of course. Thank you for your informational report, Conrad. I was just curious, as far as if this was something that were to go forward, the CEQA process, how long would that take?
6 months, a year,
Yeah, okay.
year and a half, depends on how deep we go and what happens. There'd also have, as part of that, there'd be a financial study. Kind of, and the annexations I've done, those took 6 months. So there's best 6 months, reasonably a year, maybe a year and a half.
Okay. Well, I just think it's important that the public understand that this is a very expensive and complicated process. It's not just creating a Parks and Rec district by the council's approval. I think that there's a lot of good things that come out of this discussion, and I think that we should place our emphasis on our Park and Rec Advisory Committee and see if there's some things that we can do with them by seeking some grant funding for projects, maybe some CIP projects around the city to do enhancements in our parks that wouldn't be an undue burden on staff or as complicated as this endeavor. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilman Allen?
So just to be clear, my original intent was much more than what we have in our city. I wasn't talking about just Rollins Park. And if you think about the future, we have a mountain to our north that we share with Riverside County. And the intention is that's going to become a recreation or a preserved area, you see. And so, like I said, this is not the time for our city to, we don't have the resources, obviously, but I wanted to learn about this because at some point in the future, we're going to be sharing our recreation areas outside our boundaries. And so a district would not be just like Rollins Park and Pico Park and that. I'm talking about a recreation area. That's what I was researching for. So while I agree that and I'm glad that all of you also agree with me that this is not the time for something like this for our city, I'm glad that we had the study done and the report done so that in the future, when the time comes, we won't be in the dark. Thank you.
All right, so I have a motion by Councilmember Allen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by the Mayor Pro Tem. City Attorney, you have anything?
I just want to make sure we had no public comment for this item.
No public comment.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Okay, motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 8, future agenda item request tobacco retail license program.
Okay, tobacco retail licensing program. There's a request for us to look at a program that essentially would require licensing for tobacco retailers, and then the funds from that program would then go to funding sting operations or something, enforcement and education programs for tobacco retailers. This supports vision goal number 2, maintaining public safety. There is anecdotal discussion that there is in the community, and especially out of the high school, an increase in the amount of vaping and tobacco use by our youth in the community, which begs the question, where is it coming from and who's selling it to them? So this would be one way to at least make sure that the sales are not direct, or enforce that the sales are not direct from the retailer to the underage consumer. So state enforcement, the state does do enforcements. It's fairly limited, it's not terribly aggressive, and it happens fairly haphazard and typically only triggered by complaints. The Business Professional Code does allow local jurisdictions to implement our own licensing program. The communities that have that, it's about $500 a year per retailer as a supplemental license. So essentially it would be all businesses that sell tobacco products, vaping, nicotine delivery would be required to get a city-issued license. A quick kind of count, there's about 12 or 14 businesses that would fall in that category between the gas stations, the grocery stores, the liquor stores, that kind of sales location. It'd be an annual licensing fee used exclusively to fund enforcement and education operations. So there would be compliance inspections that we'd coordinate with law enforcement, educational outreach, and certainly educational outreach for the retailers that are having a problem meeting the requirements, and then enforcement actions for violation. This does allow for decoy operations. We would coordinate with county public health and law enforcement for the enforcement capacity. City staff would not be doing that. And then it would be, we would have to draft a program that would be compliant with state law, which it's not something that's done lightly. There's some work for Adrian on that one because it is a challenging issue to get into. And then we also have to make sure that the fees don't exceed the cost of enforcement, or that enforcement doesn't exceed the cost of the fees on that. So we'll have to figure out some way to balance the two. So the benefits are that we would reduce access theoretically to youth access to tobacco products. We would then be able to determine when and how we do our enforcement and inspections. It does promote public health. There is some cost recovery for that enforcement, and then it does let our retailers know, if nothing else, that, hey, we're watching. And beyond that, maybe just knowing somebody watching is not a bad deal. The drawbacks is there is administrative work that has to go with this to manage the program. It will place burdens on both law enforcement and city staff. Being able to make sure that we balance the cost of the program with the enforcement efforts is going to be a little bit of a challenge. The other one is as soon as we take action, we're open to legal risks that we're not, picking on one specific retailer. And when you get into sting operations and enforcement operations, there's all kinds of challenges about how do you enforce that and how do you penalize that. And then on the practical standpoint, our retailers are already working in a difficult environment. As far as making a profit, we're adding another layer of expense and complexity to their day-to-day operations. And there could be the perception that with this, we're not really terribly business friendly, although we are opposed to youth tobacco consumption. We're also in favor of clearing the way so that our businesses don't have additional burdens and fees. So with this one, we don't have a clear recommendation, but the choices are that you can direct us to prepare such an ordinance, you can receive and file, or come up with some other different action. Thank you.
Well, I don't know, did Adrian need a cigarette after he did all those ordinances? Councilman Allen?
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you for that report, Mr. City Manager. This was also a future agenda item request of mine. I served on this, I said this before, I served on a panel discussion with the vice principal of our high school one time, and heard her talk about how, and this is what she said, on a daily basis, they take away tobacco products. The teachers take tobacco products off of the students. She has file cabinets full of vaping devices and all manner of tobacco products. And it's not just with the high school, it's with the middle school also. And she said the kids, they're very open about they have no qualms telling her where they get it from, how they get it, the stores, what stores they can get it from, that sort of thing. And it made me reinvestigate this, and that's how I found out that the state passed a law that made this illegal but didn't put any money behind it to enforce it, which is why we came up with tobacco retail licensing to cover the cost of enforcement. If we have some bad actors out there that are just need a little bit of convincing that they need to follow the rules, and that at some point we say, yeah, it's important to make money and for business to be successful, but we want it to be we don't want to the health of our kids. We don't. That's very important, and we need to make sure that's protected. I would ask you, Mr. City Manager, if you have asked any of the local cities around us that do have these tobacco retail licensing programs. I'm pretty sure Colton has one. I've been told they do. And they use this for enforcement purposes to ensure that their retailers And I was wondering if you had had any discussions with any of the others about, because if it's working for them and they're not being taken to court, then I don't see why we should stress over that. If we're making an ordinance, if we pass an ordinance then, and make it a rule of law, then, so I don't see that. I'm not afraid that a retailer's going to try to sue the city and say, you're picking on me. The only reason we'd pick on them is if the enforcement operation showed they were selling tobacco products to minors. I mean, so I don't buy that as a disadvantage now, Anyway, that's what I wanted to say is, I believe that we can follow what other cities are already doing and jurisdictions are already doing and finding successful, and not have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, and spend a lot of time and effort and money paying a lawyer to rewrite something that's already been written by another city's lawyer. Thank you.
Well, Tim?
Thank you so much for the report, and I appreciate the presentation that you gave today. Of our 12 to 14 businesses, about how many of those businesses do we currently have any negative issues with, where we're constantly, having to deal with violations?
It's a circular answer, because we don't have, as I said, what I'm getting is anecdotal from this, because we don't have an enforcement.
Just in general, related to the city.
Because we don't have an enforcement effort, we don't know. I've not received any direct complaints, but this could be going on all day because we're not looking for it. How many elephants are there in Grand Terrace? I don't know. I don't look for elephants.
Outside of tobacco,
From as far
just
as
in general, of just issues with our businesses in the city.
we have good businesses.
Okay.
They pay their business licenses. They don't cause a lot of grief. Don't generate a lot of trash. On the whole, we have good businesses here in town.
Okay. And with regard to enforcement, who would execute the compliance for inspections?
The city would manage the program, but the actual physical inspection would have to be law enforcement.
Okay. And how many officers do we have employed or that service our city?
We have the one.
We have the one. And in general, in a day, about how many calls is our one officer responding to?
I don't know, but what
Okay.
the funding of the program would then be to add, we would have to bring in an officer or some scene group to do that, because typically you get somebody that, is 22 and looks 17 and have them do this, and that's not necessarily our officers. So we'd have to bring somebody in from the outside to conduct these. It would not be done with on-duty officers.
And do we have a cost? What would that cost be?
We do not. It's something we'd have to explore as we go forward with
Okay.
this.
And who would execute the education, the community education?
City staff would have to do that.
Okay. Have we worked out the numbers on what that would look like and a cost to the city?
This is all part of the direction we're looking for, yes.
Do we have any information regarding what the County Department of Public Health is already doing to affect youth use of tobacco?
They're doing educational programs. They are not doing sting operations or direct retailer involvement.
Okay, so is that a component that could be removed from this program if County Department of Public Health is already executing that component?
We would probably not duplicate what they're doing.
Okay. What about the schools? I heard my colleague here state that there are issues within the schools. What programs are they executing, and how frequent are those? Do we know?
They're doing education. I'm assuming they're doing intervention when they see somebody or capture somebody, but I don't think they're doing frisking or anything when they come on campus.
Okay. One of the statements on one of your slides stated that there were enforcement challenges. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, the same challenge as any sting operation. You have to schedule, you have to get the officers, you have to put it together, and then, this could potentially end up being a criminal offense, and then we end up in court, and everything has to be done correctly and procedurally, which always raises a challenge. Even when you challenge a speeding ticket, it raises that challenge, and this is conceivably more carries a greater penalty than a speeding ticket. So there's also the greater risk for going to court, for a lawsuit, for any activities that go with that.
And to wrap it up, I apologize. This proposal, it's governing parenting and health. And so do we have any other licenses that govern, I don't know, sugar or, trans fats? Are we taxing Taco Bell more because, certain people of a certain demographic maybe shouldn't be eating those types of foods?
Those types of foods aren't illegal.
I'm sorry, I have the floor. Thank you.
Councilor Allen, please don't interrupt when she has the floor.
That may be a poor analogy, but the right one is there are laws that, for alcohol, and periodically the Sheriff's Department does conduct sting operations on that, and the Alcohol and ABC, what is ABC? The Alcohol Bureau, whatever they are, ABC
Correct.
does their sting operations as part of that. Currently, there's nothing going on for tobacco.
Has anyone ever been inebriated because of tobacco?
I'm not a physician, I don't know.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Brown, do you have anything? Because I can't turn my.
Oh, you don't want to get me started, Mayor.
That's what we're paying you for.
Yeah, well, as the father of teenage boys, I'm very familiar with vaping and what's going on with tobacco use among our youth. I'm also the chief law enforcement officer in my home, and so I'm the police for all their friends, all the overnight stays, all the activities, and I've dealt with this issue firsthand. And I've caught my son's friends with vapes on camping trips, and quite honestly, what I heard is that you've got people that are of legal age making these purchases and selling them to our kids. And I think it's critically important, and I support the efforts to educate our youth about tobacco usage and quite frankly, the evils of cannabis. But I'm not convinced that this is the right way to go for Grand Terrace. This is something that may be effective in a larger city with more resources, but when we're talking about 14 potential retailers and $7,000 a year in program revenue, I don't think that will pay the costs for our city attorney to have oversight of this program or even get it up and running. Quite frankly, it would probably be 3 years before we had enough revenue to do anything with it after our startup costs from a legal standpoint and staffing oversight. So from a financial sustainability, I think it's misplaced. I think we're looking at penalizing small business owners who haven't done anything wrong. We have no proof they've done anything wrong. And I'm pretty well connected in the community and with my kids out there, and I've heard nothing about our retailers, and believe me, I hear everything. So this isn't something that I think is the right fit for Grand Terrace. I think it sends the wrong message to our business owners. I think it's punitive, and the real solution here is education. The schools need to crack down in enforcement, but ultimately, this issue is about parenting. My kids don't vape because I'm a strict parent. So anyway, I can't support this program as proposed. I thank you for the research that you've put into it, and I understand the well-intentioned, rationale for having programs like these, but it doesn't fit Grand Terrace. Thank you.
Okay, Lieutenant Fries, does the San Bernardino County Sheriff have any task force for illegal, any activity on this? Because
Yeah, it just depends on, so if we're talking about the schools, we have school resource officers that are in our schools, so they enforce that, and when it comes down to actual criminal, culpability and charges against these minors, there's really nothing criminal in these minors being in possession of tobacco. There's administrative, there's suspension and expulsion and things like that if it's on school grounds, but going after minors is not what we're going to do. We do have task force, for lack of a better term, that we can go out and we can set up sting operations. And we've done that. When I worked in Twin Peaks and Lake Arrowhead, we had several establishments up there that we knew. And usually where it comes from, like city manager said, typically how these investigations begin, these sting operations, how they kind of spool up is that we start getting complaints and we hear about it from the community, we hear about it from the kids. Hey, this particular retail establishment is selling to minors. Perfect, let's do some reconnaissance on that. We'll do some investigation. We get enough probable cause, we start building it, and then we start building into that sting operation. And that's usually where that enforcement comes into play. And that's where you kind of get them, because then now there's a dollar amount that goes with that. They start getting fines, there's criminal charges against these owners and things like that. But it does take some time, because you have to start building a case on these things. You just don't know where it's coming from, especially 14 different establishments in Grand Terrace. Who's selling to minors, if any? And then if they're not getting it from there, they're getting it from somewhere else. They're getting it from people that are of age. They can get it online. I mean, there's tons of different places out there, and it is an epidemic. I mean, it's terrible. And I have teenage kids as well, and it's truly becoming an epidemic. So, but yes, we do have resources out there that we could dedicate to that if that comes to that, where we establish that there are specific businesses that we need to target. Without a doubt, we're on board with that, and we will for sure be involved in that investigation if required.
Does the sheriff department, besides getting complaints, do they ever just go, to establishments just to make sure that people are doing the proper thing? I mean, how often do they do that? And
They can do checks on there. Yeah, they could do random checks. The same thing as bars. They can do bar checks. They can do retail checks. They can check for business license and things like that. But again, it's catching them in a criminal act. I mean, you can go in there and say, hey, are you guys selling to mine? No, we would never do that. And it's not until you actually catch them in the act, which is where these sting operations are very, very highly effective, because it's like anything. Do you ever drive drunk? Nope, sure don't. But then you catch them driving down the street and they're drunk, So you have to catch them in the act, which is being proactive. Just even having a visual presence is good, though. So if that is something that we want to move forward and have our deputies start going out and visiting these establishments regularly, we can also do that as well. That could be something that we can definitely pass along to the upcoming shifts, to have them spend a little more time in there, checking up on them.
well, I know that I had more responsibilities for our one deputy. But do you guys ever just, like I'm saying, random sting operations, just an undercover? Because, I have some friends in the ATF and all that. And, because it's tobacco. And, my son actually does stuff like that. But, would you go, let's say, hey, let's just do a courtesy check and see if there's anything happening in the city of Grand Terrace? Would you have like an undercover, minor do something like that and direction of the sheriff's department?
It takes a lot of, Grand Terrace wouldn't necessarily do that. Central Station, that would probably come from our narcotics division. They may do something like that, but again, it's going to be targeted. So that we're going to have to we have, 15 different stations in the county, and it's just a large area. So it just depends on, they're not just going to randomly pick areas to go and target. It's going to have to be based on some sort of information that we received to target that particular, that business.
Okay. City manager, how much would the additional license be?
Typically, it's about $500, which, with 14, that's $7,000 a year. It's really not. We've spent more in staff time in here talking about it than you would recover. It really is not much of a revenue stream. It would offset probably some of the cost of the sheriff's sting operation. It would have to be much more than $500.
How much is the retail license right now for our city, our establishments?
A business license?
Business license, yeah.
It's dependent on the volume of sales. So it goes everything from, just if you're not selling anything and just running a home office, it's like $50 or $100, and it goes up to the thousands depending on how much you're selling. It's tied to the volume of sale.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Okay, with public comment?
Israel Fuentes.
Good evening, Mayor Hussey and council members. My name is Israel Fuentes, and I serve as a proud member of the Colton Joint Unified School District Board, a member of the Grand Terrace Community Coalition for Change, as well as the chair for the Coalition for Tobacco-Free San Bernardino County. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this evening and continue support of the local youth and families who are here to advocate for change in their community. A tobacco retail license, known as a TRL for short, is a local ordinance that the city can implement in order to reduce youth access to tobacco. The TRL includes a licensing component that would require local retailers to obtain a license from the city in order to sell tobacco. This license would come with a fee that would provide funds for enforcement to ensure that tobacco products are not being sold to anyone under legal purchasing age of 21. Implementing a comprehensive TRL policy in Grand Terrace not only is a critical step towards reducing youth access and limiting harmful exposure, but shifting our community norms around tobacco use. In 2022, 260 Grand Terrace city residents were surveyed and asked about their perspective on tobacco-related issues. When respondents were asked if they would support or oppose the elimination of tobacco sales in their community, 63.8% supported or strongly supported such a move. This shows general community support for the TRL ordinance in the city of Grand Terrace. Even though California is a leader in tobacco control efforts, only 4 cities in San Bernardino County have a local ordinance to address youth access to tobacco products. This city with the local TRL are Colton, Adelanto, Hesperia, and Victorville. It would be great to be able to add Grand Terrace to this list of cities and that are proactive about protecting our youth against tobacco products. Lastly, I just want to say that the Coalition for Tobacco-Free San Bernardino County is here as a resource for you to help with the process. We have put together some policy binders with additional resource around tobacco retail licensing. In the binders, you will find a model ordinance as well as the copies of the ordinance for Adelanto, Colton, and Hesperia. The binders also include a TRL enforcement guide as well as additional education materials on California flavored tobacco ban. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at tobaccofreesbc@gmail.com. This is not just tobacco, but some of these retailers are also selling cannabis and some other drugs under the table. Just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Margaret Gonzalez.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Hussey and City Council members. My name is Margaret Gonzalez, and I am a youth advocate and a member of the Community Coalitions for Change and a resident of Grand Terrace. I want to thank Councilmember Allen for inviting us here today. I want to thank the whole council for their continued support on tobacco and cannabis prevention issues. As most of you know, the Grand Terrace Community Coalition for Change has been working on a smoke-free outdoor campaign in Grand Terrace for a couple of years now. The campaign's goal is to reduce secondhand smoke exposure from both tobacco and marijuana smoke. Even though a formal policy has not been presented before the City Council, we are happy to see that there is an interest in protecting me and my peers from the harm of tobacco by addressing youth access to tobacco products. Beyond traditional cigarettes, products like flavored vapes and nicotine pouches such as Zyn are being marketed directly to youth through strategic and deceptive tactics that are using appealing flavors, sleek designs, and youth-oriented branded to hide the harms and hook a new generation. These products are highly addictive and can harm brain development, increase anxiety, and lead to long-term health issues. By having a local tobacco retail license, Grand Terrace can do its part to ensure that tobacco products are being sold responsibly and that the flavored tobacco products are taken off the shelves. My main request tonight is that you continue to prioritize making Grand Terrace a tobacco-free community through policies such as a TRL and smoke-free outdoors. Policy change is a necessary step to protect youth, hold retailers accountable, and create a healthier future for our city. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Isabella Soria.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Isabella Soria, and I'm an incoming sophomore at Grand Terrace High School. As a young person, I'm the tobacco industry main target. Flavored tobacco products make tobacco more interesting to youth and highly addicting. I am here today to thank the council for the continued concern with tobacco use in Grand Terrace. My main request of you today is that you strongly consider continuing to move forward with the process of adopting a tobacco retail license in Grand Terrace. Thank you, and thank you for your time.
Camila Soria.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Camila Soria. I am a student in Terrace Hills Middle School. I want to thank the Mayor and City Council for their ongoing support in reducing the harm of tobacco. In our community, vapes are the most used tobacco products among young people, not just in high school, but in middle school as well. My main ask today is that you continue to move forward with drafting a CRL in order to protect me and my friends from the harm of tobacco. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
No more public comment.
Ms. Forbes, please next time fill them out, and then, because you act like you're the sixth council member up there.
Have a
Okay.
blank.
All right. Can you turn on your mic, please?
I would just like to say I think this has to do with parents. I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. I'm 69 years old. I grew up at a time when everybody smoked cigarettes. My daughter had a fake license when she was 20 and went to Freddy's liquor store and bought alcohol, and I found out, and she got in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. She never went back there for that. I don't know what happened to the license after I took the first one. But our sheriffs have enough to do in this town. We don't need them to be doing this. And if Colton doesn't want to sell tobacco, so be it. But it would be ridiculous in Grand Terrace, I think. Thank you. And I did give a card ahead of time. Thank you.
Okay. We'll just make a paper airplane for you.
Thank you. I'm going to get surgery this year, so I'll be able to go down there
Okay.
myself. Thank you.
Well, let us know if you need anything. All right. Wait, I have one question. Now, Colton has an ordinance, Adelanto, and Hesperia. Those three cities, which one sells marijuana, cannabis? Colton. And I know Adelanto has grows and they sell it. Hesperia, I don't know. So we have a drug that's illegal for federal that shouldn't be here anyway, and now they're doing a feel-good thing for saying you can't buy cigarettes when marijuana is more potent than that. So we're saying cigarettes are bad, but marijuana is good. So that's like, this is an oxymoron to me. That's why I'm just wondering, nothing against you, Israel, just that it is brought to our attention, and this is crazy. They authorize the sale of marijuana in their city. So how do we, and kids most likely, they do marijuana too, more than the vaping and everything else. So I'm just trying to roll, get going here on this, and I know this is and believe me, this coalition has done a lot of work on this. And so that was just my question on that. Councilmember Allen?
Thanks, Mayor. Well, first off, there's a law with cannabis, just like there's a law with tobacco, there's an age restriction and an age requirement. Pretty sure that those legal retailers of cannabis in Colton are making sure that the ages are followed. But the thing is that this isn't about cannabis, this is about tobacco.
It's still smoke.
And tobacco has that same age limit, 21, but yet we know that the youth are having access to it. And yeah, they may have access to the cannabis, but this is about tobacco and not cannabis. And, and when Ms. Forbes up here and my colleague over here, Matt Brown, they talk about parenting. And yes, absolutely. I mean, my kids don't use tobacco and never have, and I didn't use tobacco, and my wife doesn't use tobacco, and I think it's examples and parenting and that sort of thing. But I just want to remind you that about 10% of our youth are homeless in the foster care system, and they don't have that parent example. They're on their own, and they're raising themselves, and they could use a little help. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem? you just want-
I think also, as local governance, we have to remember that under state legislation, children are given those rights to parent themselves on so many levels. And so if we're going to talk about those kids who've been put into the foster system, and we're going to talk about how some of them are placed there's a whole lot of other layers to go through. At the end of the day, like you said, we're talking about tobacco, and I don't know anyone who's smoked tobacco and has been inebriated and a public nuisance as they would with marijuana, which is legal in some of the cities that have banned tobacco in their cities. So as with our parks and recs that was brought forward, the funding and the ability to even be able to enforce it, it isn't there. And you're asking for one law enforcement officer to police our businesses when our CM just told us that, you know, our businesses have been in good standing. Anytime anything goes wrong in the city of Grand Terrace, I mean, we're all a stone's throw away from each other. That's how small we are. And so if there's something wrong with a business, I mean, for the love of God, somebody got the wrong cake at Baskin Robbins, and the entire town knew about it. Somebody got a scratch at Quick Quack on their car. The entire town knew about it. So if we have evidence that youth are purchasing tobacco, I know that at some level, because we have people who are here all the time who have their ear to the ground, they'd have come forward and we'd have them screaming up here. I mean, we have people who are upset because the dog signs can't go up, because the fireworks are still going off for how many days. Again, as my colleague here shared, this is not for Grand Terrace, and it's not something that I can support. I commend your work. I commend the work that you all are doing in other cities, especially knowing the impact that tobacco has in that area. But Grand Terrace, we're a tight-knit community. We're a family community. And at the end of the day, our vote is going to be representative of our community. Thank you.
Okay, 1 second. So I researched Colton, yes, Adelanto, yes, Hesperia, no on marijuana sales. Councilman Allen?
Yeah, I find it a bit contradictory that it's only been a couple of meetings ago whenever you were fighting against a business license for a new business license to sell alcohol to a business on Michigan Avenue, and your claim for that was the safety of the children walking along Michigan Avenue back and forth to school. That's what I remember hearing you say. So I just want you to just find you very contradictory. That's all.
Thank you. The location.
Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
The statement in question, the location in question, on the four corners are 3 residential houses and then a liquor store was the statement. Thank you.
Okay, so Councilmember Brown?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you all for coming tonight and for your input. Particularly appreciate our school board member, Mr. Fuentes. I want to be very clear. Since we're using Colton as comparisons, I had to take a quick peek at their budget. Colton is 5 times the size of the city of Grand Terrace. Colton has 59 sworn peace officers. We have 1. We have 22 employees here in the city of Grand Terrace. And anything that we do that takes away from their existing tasks, it impacts our residents and our current service levels. It would be a disservice to them to denigrate our existing service, the time frame that we provide our responses to them currently, to approve a program, in this case, that is just really nothing more than ceremonial. It's a great gesture and it looks nice, but $7,000 a year in revenue, it does nothing. That's a drop in the bucket. It gets eaten up administratively and it isn't effective to meet your or the ordinance goals. It's just not something that I can support. I want to see our service focus to enhance our existing municipal services to our residents. And if you guys want to run a ballot measure to ban tobacco sales, by all means, go for it. That doesn't cost us anything, and it doesn't impact what we're doing here as we serve Grand Terrace residents. This, for me, is ultimately a financial decision, and it would be irresponsible for me to support it. Thank you.
Councilor Wilson, do you have anything? Okay. Anybody else have any questions, comments? So here we are at and not knocking, like you said, all the work and, respect to the Cone Joint Unified School District, board members. We work hand in hand with each other, and our, Grand Terrace has fought hard for that high school so we could take care of our youth. And you guys are doing a good job on there. And, it's hard, when you have to police the students there at the school when the teachers are there to teach. And for these young people standing up for that while they're in school too was a lot of courage and trying to, help their fellow students. That's, I respect that a lot. But what my council member is saying, we're a small city. We need additional law enforcement. We're going to strap our law enforcement as it is, and maybe later on, hopefully, the taxpayers will see that. But like Councilmember Brown said, this is just one door closed for you. The other avenue is you could try to get it on a ballot if you already did a survey, so that would be that. So we have to protect everybody, yes. We also have to protect our establishments here. Believe me, if they were, like Mayor Pro Tem said, they were doing something illegal, we'd be on it. I'll be at their door, That's why we turned down the marijuana thing, sales. It brought back and we turned it down because that was just adding more, stress on our officers too. And we didn't want that here in the city. I don't know how anybody can afford a pack of cigarettes, to tell you the truth. I went by the Stater Brothers and I looked. I thought it was $10 a carton. It's $10 a pack. So it is. It's a drug. It's addicting. The nicotine, and yes, the health issues that happens on that. There's a lot of things. So if I have a motion for this. And do I have a second? Go ahead.
Just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity for letting us come out here. It's not easy sometimes.
Can you please come up to the podium?
Oh, okay, I can do that. I just wanted to say thank you for giving us the opportunity for coming out here. I understand. A lot of the cities are different. A lot of cities are smaller. A lot of cities are bigger, and that's understandable. Just to let you guys know and let the council know and mayor know, we are here to help you educate. So even though this might not happen in your city, we're still here to help you in any way that we can to educate the community, to educate your retailers, free of charge. It doesn't cost anything to sit down with some people and talk to them and let them know, this is what we can do to do it better. In the school district, we're fighting with the kids every day, trying to make sure they understand that it's not just tobacco, but the vaping part of it also. Vaping is very dangerous for them. And so educating the students, educating the community, we're here to do that. If we can't do a TRL, that's fine. But we're here to help you make sure that your community understands the dangers of tobacco and vaping and all these other drugs. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And please don't give up on the education because, sir, that prior to us growing up, I think every parent drove and had a hot box for their kids smoking, you know? So you have seen a dramatic, decrease in tobacco use. Now, I don't know what kind of education you have for school. I know when we were in school, the big effect is seeing what a lung looks like when it's, they're smoking, and seeing the effects, what nicotine does to the skin and the smoke. So education's a big thing. And, we want to be partnered with you. We want to help. I don't see me getting a second on this, but, we never know what's future down the line, what we might have. But I'm going to let my colleagues decide, and we'll go from there. But thank you again. And we still want to have the coalition coming out here. We will not charge for a booth. We want you guys to educate these people. Anytime we have a thing here, just come up and educate. This might just be one little roadblock on you if we don't pass it, but, just keep fighting a good fight, all right? So do I have a motion in a second?
I'll give you that second. Did you say you made the motion? And
No, I didn't say I was giving the motion. I said I need a motion and a second.
I didn't think so. Well, I'll make the motion for staff recommendation. Let's see, wait a minute, what is it? No, I'll make a motion
Make a motion for staff recommendations for outlining.
Well, the recommendation is that they're looking for direction. They want direction. And my direction would be that I would like for us to be able to, it's pretty obvious that this isn't going to go pass. I mean, none of my fellow council members are in favor of it. I would support having it, because I think that a retailer would pay it, to have the license to be able to sell tobacco, because I think it's a profitable product. But I also understand that the low amount of dollar value of the overall of this and all that you were discussing. So I guess the direction would be to receive and file.
Well, the recommendations, the city council provide direction as the implementation of the tobacco retail license program that includes requirement of all tobacco retailers to obtain a local tobacco retail license and an annual license fee to fund enforcement and compliance efforts to focus on preventing tobacco and vape products. So you don't want to make that motion, you just want to make a motion to receive and file?
Well, I'd like to make this motion, but I thought I misunderstood
Councilman Allen,
it.
go ahead and make the
because it just
motion, I'll
said make
second it, and we'll
directions.
bring it to a vote. all
Okay.
right? Okay,
Then
we
that's
have-
the motion.
I'll second so we can bring it to the councilman vote. Do I have any other questions? City Attorney?
I was going to ask staff, can you go back a slide? I think you had like 3 options for the city council. I just want to make sure that the council understands.
Yeah.
So these were the 3 options. So to clarify your motion, I assume you're going with option 1, the direct staff to prepare a TRL ordinance and fee resolution? Or something else?
The staff recommendation is what we made the motion on in the
Do you
second.
want
Yeah, 1, 2, or 3 on the bullet.
Number
1,
one.
2, or 3, whatever you want to do, Councilman Allen?
Number 1? Okay, so the first, the motion is to go with option 1, direct staff to prepare a TRL ordinance and fee resolution. Is there a second?
And I'll second.
Okay.
Are we good?
We're good?
All right, please vote.
Motion did not pass.
Okay, please do not stop the good fight. This is a roadblock, and we had to look at, Grand Terrace's solidarity. It's a shame that we had to put a dollar value on this. But yes, and please partner with us. We're getting education out. Like I said, you guys are welcome here anytime. And don't feel bad. Don't put your head down when you walk out. Keep your head high, because you guys did nothing wrong. You guys did a good fight. You guys did everything you could do. All right? So thank you. God bless. All right, we have item 9. Future agenda regulation, auto repair activities, residential zone.
There you go, you stole my thunder. So this is future agenda night. So we're looking at auto repair activities in residential zones. As this vision goal number 2, maintain public safety. We've received concerns about this activity happening. We have currently two sites that are highly suspicious, and we'll get into enforcement and actions as we get towards the end of the conversation. But there may be more sites where basically people are running auto shops out of their garage in their house. So this does raise issues of safety to the neighborhood, noise, disruption, parking, dumping, potentially oil leaking into the streets and the gutters. So there is impacts to the neighborhood. And so we took a look at what existing tools do we have to deal with this before we look at creating a whole new ordinance for this. So first, we have an ordinance that deals with home occupations. Anybody that has a business out of their home, whether it's knitting or fixing bicycles or selling insurance, has to have a home occupation permit as to be allowed to conduct business in the residential zone. Those have fairly stringent requirements as far as you're not allowed to have customers coming and going from the house. You're not allowed to park commercial vehicles at your house. There's a limit on deliveries and the impact. So, the idea is you can conduct a home office without having a lot of activity that impacts the neighborhood. So we already have an ordinance that addresses people conducting business out of their home. Typically, we would not issue a home occupation permit for a home auto repair shop out of a house. So therefore, anybody that's conducting that would be in violation of this ordinance. Secondly, we require a business license for anybody conducting business. Once again, we would not issue a business license for anybody conducting this sort of business in the residential zone. We do a check to see is it allowed in the zone, what type of business are they conducting as part of the licensing, and if it's in a residential zone, once again, they'd have to have a home occupation permit. So anybody doing this would also be in violation of both of these sections of the code for not having a business license. Section 1860 defines street parking. So anybody conducting these activities, unless they're doing it all on their driveway or on their property, would have impacts on off-street parking. It doesn't mean you can't park. The street in front of your house is not your street. Anybody can park there. But typically there are a bunch of cars around. People are not so careful how they park. So we run across these street parking issues that we already have a way to deal with that. So there are occasionally or probably some dispersal of oil, coolant, solvents. Those are stormwater violations. We have both federal, state, and local, our jurisdiction, have ordinances that address stormwater pollution violations. California requires licensing if you're going to conduct automotive repair from the Bureau of Automotive Repair, a business license or a professional license from that. They would not issue that unless there's a business license and it's being conducted in appropriate facilities. Therefore, a home mechanic is in violation of state law as well. So back to the streets, and we can kind of touch a little bit on the enforcement. With all these rules, why are we having trouble with these couple of guys? Because it comes back to having to prove it. Are you a hobbyist? Do you work on your friends' cars? Are you part of a car club doing things together? Or are you conducting a business? And the only way to really prove that is we catch some guy paying somebody to work on a car. Or the Bureau of Automotive Repair catches somebody. So when we get these complaints, we automatically forward it to the state as well. So what would probably happen as far as finally catching these guys, and it's a game of cat and mouse, that just like Al Capone, he went to prison for tax evasion. We will get these guys for obstructing a street, blocking a driveway, not having registration on a vehicle, having an unoperable vehicle in the street, repairing a vehicle in the street. And then at some point, we would end up towing one of these vehicles, and an unhappy customer would rat out the facility, and we would be off to the races then. So we do have plenty of rules and ordinances. This is an enforcement issue, and not a legislative issue. So once again, we have rules and ordinances for this. It's, through zoning, business license, state and federal laws, we have the ability, but it really falls back to enforcement and catching somebody. And we've had one where we literally sat across the street, and friends come in and they work on their cars together, and then the friends leave. And until you see, we never saw anybody money change hands, anything else. So it falls back onto being able to catch the enforcement. So any additional legislative activity we take will just be one more rule that we are trying to enforce. And the enforcement portion is the part that we're working on. So our recommendation is that the council receive and file this report. And we will continue for our two suspects, continue working on them, and continue looking for others. And sooner or later they will make a mistake. We won't, and we will catch them. And with that, any questions or comments? Thank you.
Council, any questions? Councilman Allen?
Can you not, if you, the evidence is clear if you look at the driveways, because there's oil slicks running down into the gutter. Can they be cited for environmental?
We can, and we have for the environmental component, yes.
Yeah, that's readily identifiable by, you can see that.
But once again, it's a citation for the environmental component, and we do the citation, have them clean it up, but if they're not spilling oil as they're working on other cars, we don't have the ability to go after them for the illegal mechanic shop.
Any other questions, comments? Public comment? Oh, you have one?
Johan
Sorry.
Gallo.
I'm sorry, wait, Mayor Pro Tem.
You and I have talked about, because there were issues, I think it was about 3 homes that were running automotive from their homes, so much so that if you went to your maps for directions, it said there was a mechanic in one of the homes, and our ordinance is in place, they are working, and so I think it's just a matter of, as community, making sure we communicate that information here to take care of it. And so I just want to say thank you for your presentation. Thank you for the work that you've done in the past, and for the work that I know that you'll continue to do here.
And I think you made a great point that I missed, thank you, is if this is going on in your neighborhood and you see it, once again, see something, say something, call it in, report it, file a complaint. We do not take anonymous complaints, because ultimately we will be in front of a judge, and he's going to want to know who's bringing the charges, and we have to say that guy. So we don't do anonymous complaints, but file a complaint. Please call the city, 909-954-5200, pick option number 1. That will get us to Sheriff Dispatch, and we will get code enforcement out there in a timely manner, because the other one that's happening is people will take pictures, will call and say, I saw them doing this last Saturday. Well, we can't catch them last Saturday, so we have to do this in a timely manner. So please, if you see something, say something. Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, any other questions? Comments? All right, public comment?
Johan Gallo.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Having worked with the Bureau of Automotive Repair for 40 years as my other hat that I wore, one of the important things was, how do you regulate people working on cars for a living at their home? So after almost 4 years of working on a bill, we finally got it passed, and it basically says, if you work on a vehicle for compensation, you must be registered with the Bureau of Automotive Repair. You must have an automotive repair dealer license, period. The problem is, right now, you might be familiar with Your Mechanic. Well, Your Mechanic started as I'll come to your house and fix your car. Then AutoZone comes along and says, hey, bring your car here, we'll run diagnostics on it. Gee, do you have an automotive repair dealer license? No. So the bottom line in all of this is you're trying to really address multiple issues in the automotive repair business, because while looking at making sure that if anybody's doing repairs at their home, they're registered with the automotive repair department, agency. That's one issue. The other is environmental, and the whole list goes on. The problem is many of these people that do the side jobs, it's word of mouth. It would be hard to really pin down, but I know the people Conrad is talking about, because they're two people that I'm really concerned about the stuff that they do, because it's very concerning as a resident of our city. So the net of all of this is, I think it's important that we have an ordinance. I think it's important that we address the issue of doing automotive repair at home for multiple issues, safety, environmental. Not to mention, are you getting an invoice? Are you getting an estimate? Something as simple as the Right It Right law that's been in force since 1972 says you must get an estimate. You must be offered your old parts. There's a whole litany of things in this booklet that if you're having somebody do that repair in their home, you're not getting any of that. And so the concern we had with the mobile people were none of them were licensed. They would just come to your house, sell you whatever, and it may or may not fix your problem. But you had no recourse because they weren't licensed with the Bureau of Automotive Repair. So I think this is an important issue for our community. I just want to look at what's at stake when you're dealing with mobile automotive repair dealer licensed facilities that will come to your house and provide that, and yet they are licensed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
No more public comment.
All right. So close public comment. So you want a motion for receive and file?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Future agenda items. At this time, the city council may purpose items for discussion or actions of further duly agenda city council meeting. Consensus of majority of the quorum is to require that to be placed on the future agenda. Do we have any future agenda items request?
Yes, Mayor.
See, I looked this way. I thought
Yeah.
somebody was staring
I
at
haven't
me.
had one in a while. This is an easy one for Conrad, though. So I would like to bring back a future item that's just an update on the Blue Mountain Trail project, where we're at, where the consultant's at on it. But more than anything, back in May, we conducted a survey of stakeholders, and I'd like to get that feedback out to the public and just have you give a brief report on it, Conrad, and make that information available, since I never saw any public release of the survey results.
You don't need to make that an item. We'll bring it back.
Okay, thank you.
So we don't need a vote on that? Because there's already a request at one time?
I had a wonderful idea, and I think we're going to bring back the Blue Mountain Trail and give some information back to you in the survey results. So I don't think you need
That's a fantastic idea. Thank you.
All right. See what I'm working with up here? Professionals. Any other future agendas? No, we'll close that. City Council Communications, Councilor Matt Brown on his fishing excursion. That I'm jealous about?
I just want to clarify that Nothing the mayor said about my absence at the last council meeting was accurate. I did not hit the lottery. I was just on a long overdue vacation, and I'm happy to be back. I missed you all. Nothing else to report.
Well, we're happy you're back. When's the salmon fry? Councilman Allen?
Okay, thanks, Mayor. So after the last council meeting, I attended the Grand Terrace Chamber of Commerce meeting where I ran into Matthew Hernandez, who is the chairperson from the American Cancer Society's Colton Grand Terrace chapter of the Relay for Life. And he's been the chairperson for a couple of years. Last year, I went to the Relay for Life and attended the ceremony in Colton at the football stadium. And I asked him how the things were going with the Relay for Life, and he said, the thing is that it's the Colton at Grand Terrace Relay for Life, but there's no Grand Terrace teams. There's more than 30 teams from Colton this year, as were last year, but just like with last year, there's no teams from Grand Terrace. He said, some of the folks from Colton are wanting us to remove the name Grand Terrace from the event. And I thought, man, you threw the gauntlet down now. And so I said, well, no, don't do that. We'll start a team, and so that's what I've done. I started the Grand Terrace Relay for Life for the American Cancer Society team because I just couldn't stand the idea of thinking that we weren't doing our part to fight this terrible disease, So we've already have some team members. If anybody out there, if you'd like to be a part of this team or to help support this effort, the fundraising is ongoing, and you can see me or contact me, and I will get together with you and make that happen if you want to be a part of the team or support it. The actual Relay for Life event is on September 20. That's from last year, but that's all right. The only difference is that the date, it's September 27th of 2025. And so, see me, and that's what I wanted to talk about.
Thank you. So you said September 27, 2025?
Yep, September 27th, 2025, from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. at the football stadium in Colton.
So what do they do on the Relay for Life? What do you have to do?
So all the team members come down, and during the event for the 13 hours that we're there, one team member is on the track at all time walking with the other teams that are there. And then the rest of the team generally stays we have in the middle of the field, there's a bunch of pop-ups with a variety of items there that different teams bring to either sell or raffle or ways to raise money. It's all about raising money to help in the fight to find the cure for cancer. And so there'll be all kinds of events there. One of our CERT team members was there last year, I was proud to say.
So what do you require for each team member?
Just a desire to be a part of the team and willingness to help do some fundraising on any level, I mean, every penny counts. That's the thing. There's no, you have to give a certain amount or you have to raise a certain amount. It's just I want to be a part of it. This is my first time doing it. I'm kind of hip shooting it, so I'm learning as I go about being a team captain here for a Relay for Life team for this. But
well, listen, team captain, if it's on September 27th, I'd like to join your team.
All right, then. That sounds great.
Let me know about the fundraiser.
Okay.
I got to get my steps in. But no, it's a good cause.
It is.
And we never heard about the teams and stuff. They come out there. But no, I like to help support that too. And maybe my other colleagues can get out there and go have some ribs at the skating ring after we're done. Maybe I could get more than just one if the mayor pro tem's out there. No. But anyway, thank you, Jeff.
We're not going to let Colton take our name off this.
Yeah, no. Okay, Councilman Wilson.
I'll defer to the rest of the dais.
Okay. Mayor pro tem?
Nothing to share. I just got back from 7 days with my daughter at national dance competition, so my voice is hoarse. My feet hurt from being her personal assistant, so nothing
Your
to share.
voice
Thank you.
is hoarse? I couldn't tell. So did they win?
Yes, they placed. It's all a blur now.
Okay. Well, congratulations to her. So last Friday, I was volunteered for 17 months for the district attorney's office. It's like every 3 months we go for a 5-hour meeting. So at the 5-hour meeting, I felt like I was doing my criminal law class again back in college. But our district attorney, really good guy, down-to-earth guy. And one of my big questions was about the fireworks and how is that drone thing going to work when they took away the red light cameras. So it's still an iffy thing. So I got some other stuff for him. And he volunteered, Adrian, his services for his office if we need any help writing an ordinance on something, criminal ordinance. So I go, well, our lawyer works for free, Paul Bruno, so maybe we'll get it. I mean, well, you did earn your money today by saying all those ordinances, right? Yeah. Did you practice like last time? You got it memorized? Okay. But anyway, really good guy, and there was other community leaders there from churches and stuff. So it's to help us understand more about the law, to help residents and other people if they have something, like the victim thing, like if a crime doesn't get, processed through the district attorney, it's not just that you're not a victim, but nobody wants to stand for you. Like the witnesses don't come forward. They can't process. You need beyond a reasonable doubt to convict. So there's other stuff like that. There's big scenarios in there that could happen. So, but really, forthgoing, the staff was really nice, and really appreciate the time that the district attorney that he gave us. And I think next time we're supposed to go to Banning. I might not be here. It's unfortunately my anniversary, and I have to go to that. So, but there's practice, shoot, don't shoot. So if I don't go to my anniversary, there will be no practicing shoot, don't shoot. So, but it's to get people mindset too, because everybody said, why did they shoot? You had a cell phone, you can't. Well, people don't know, right, Lieutenant, the stress and the adrenaline's going up, and when somebody makes a stance, that's a preparatory command that somebody's going to shoot you. So there's a lot of scenarios on that. And then we're going to do civil law and everything on there. So it's an interesting class. But that's all I have. I appreciate, like I said, Cohen Joint Unified School Israel for coming out here and supporting this great cause. Like I said, it's don't give up the fight, and we appreciate everything you're doing for Colton. When does school start?
August 4th.
I don't know. Why did you guys move it to August, man? Poor kids. It's hotter than heck.
It's just the way that, actually, if it was up to me, we'd start back in September again.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's just the educational code, they changed all this stuff.
well, hopefully that new drop-off over at Grand Terrace Elementary School. But I just want to throw it out there. We did buy property for a brand-new school when I was on the oversight committee by the high school. So I don't know why, so that's just my pet thing there. Stuff. But quick question, what are they doing to the field back there? Because I'm getting asked that. Everybody thinks the mayor knows everything. I don't know everything.
The field behind the stadium, you mean?
No, at the elementary school, they're digging all that up. Are they putting more classrooms there?
They're going to put more classrooms. We're going to put a new administrative office there. We're moving the admin office from the second floor. We're bringing it down to the first floor. So we are getting rid of some portables. So we are revamping the school.
Okay.
And making it a little better for everybody.
Great. Well, let's take care of our students.
Yes, sir.
All right, so I have nothing else. City manager? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to thank the community at large for, once again, putting up with the mess of paving and the detours on Michigan, but we finally got that piece done, and it looks like we're going to get everything done and striped before school starts. That was our big intention, so that we're not impacting paving and striping and street work in the school schedule. So it looks like we'll get our striping done before school starts on those streets as well. And the Lieutenant Fries, you got anything for us?
Yes, I have a couple things. Just wanted to bring up that we've got on Tuesday, August 5th, our National Night Out event will be in Grand Terrace this year. Last year it was in Loma Linda. We kind of bounced back and forth between Loma Linda and Grand Terrace. So this year it'll be in Grand Terrace. It will be in the Stater Brothers parking lot on Barton Road, and it will be from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. So this is a good opportunity for the community to come out and meet their first responders, and we're going to have lots of different community members and organizations there. We'll have law enforcement, fire will be there, code enforcement, probation. We'll have our Department of Behavioral Health will be out there. Our Coast team, who handles homeless, encampments and liaisons and things like that. So lots of different, opportunities for people to get out there and talk. So we'll have some family-friendly activities and hot dogs, and it's a free event. So no charge, just the community is invited to come out there and partake in that. So August 5th from 3 to 7. I also wanted to share some stats from this last week, last Friday night. Our deputies did an 8-hour DUI enforcement saturation in Grand Terrace. They had 20 traffic stops during that 8-hour period, 3 DUI evaluations. There was 1 DUI arrest, which actually ended up being a traffic collision either in or around the McDonald's drive-thru, and there was actually a separate DUI arrest. There was actually 2 that night. 1 drug arrest, 3 arrests for driving without a license, and 1 felony arrest was made on a pre-existing warrant. What else? Let's see. I also want to kind of bring up it was brought to my attention this last week that there were 2 separate incidents, one involving the assault of a Grand Terrace citizen. And I just wanted to reiterate how important it is to make sure, and I'm going to kind of segue on what you guys mentioned earlier, and how important it is that when the crime occurs, and if you know it occurs at that point, you have to call it in right then. You can't wait. One of these particular assaults, it was over 12 hours later that it was reported. Well, by that point, if you give a suspect description and it's 12 hours later, that person's long gone. And especially if it's somebody who's not in our area, they've come from surrounding areas, and they're now in Grand Terrace. If they commit a crime and you wait 12 hours to report it, they are long gone. We don't have any information on that. So please, 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 either, on something like that, that's not called a non-emergency number. That is call 911. If that crime occurs, call 911. Another one is, let's see, there was that. What else? There's another incident that occurred. No, I can't think of it right now, but that's it. Just make sure. And if it is a non-emergency, call the 909-387-8313 number to report those things as they occur. Because like I said, it takes a little bit of time to get there, and it's very important. Also, make sure as the community, it's very important to have as much information as we can gather. If you have Ring cameras or you have cameras on your house, deputies more than likely will come out and ask you for that information. But if you see something occurring, by all means, if it's occurring in front of your house, there's no expectation of privacy. I know people are weird about, filming or whatever, but if there's something occurring out in front of your house, or you think there's an exchange of money and there's a drug deal going on, get out your cell phones, don't be conspicuous, but get as much information as possible to provide the law enforcement. You have license plate numbers and you've got descriptions of people. By all means, give it to us so we can investigate those crimes to get these people in custody and stop some of this crime that's going on. I believe that's all I have.
Ted, I got a question for you.
Sure.
So, of course, solicitors aren't supposed to be soliciting here in the city, but when they do, a lot of it's because you really get the alarm company when there's a break-in the house, because they'll use that. But one of the things is don't give out information to these solicitors, especially what kind of alarm you got, and if you got any dogs or any weapons, don't give them anything. Just tell them, do you have a peddler's license? Do you have a business license? And go pound sand, because they usually don't. But Edison's been going out, and I know people are complaining about, they're coming at all hours. Have you got any complaints on that or calls? Because once again, they're not calling the number, they're putting it on Facebook. But have you guys received anything?
I haven't heard anything about that, but I do want to kind of segue on what you said there. You're as a homeowner, you under no expectation to answer that door. If a solicitor comes to your door and they ring on your, they knock on your door, they ring your doorbell, whatever, you are under no expectation to answer that door for anybody, because what's happening is we've had in some of our surrounding communities, they've had these home invasion robberies, and what happens is people come to your house and they pose as a solicitor. They knock on the door, they're saying, hey, I'm from Edison, I'm from the water company, I'm from whatever. You open the door. Once that door is open, They kick the door in. Then now they're into your house, right? You are under no expectation to answer. You can talk to me through this door. If you have a business card, you can leave it on the door. I'll check it later. But it's very important to the community. If you're not expecting anybody at your house, you don't have to open that door, and please don't open it up. You're allowing an opportunity for these crooks to get inside your house. But as far as the Edison, I haven't heard anything about that, but I can follow up on that.
So I just want to emphasize, like you just did a perfect point there. When in doubt, don't open the door, right? You don't need to. Unless it's me knocking on the door for other things, but.
If I can add on that, back to, if you see something, say something. Don't, like you said, don't post it on Facebook, don't call the mayor, don't text me, don't email us. Call the non-emergency numbers, call the city hall number, hit 1, call the sheriff's dispatch non-emergency number, and get somebody out there if you're in doubt. That's what we're here for. We'd much rather go there and have nothing than not go there and have something. And so see something, say something, please.
Absolutely. And that's what I was trying to remember earlier, is that city manager and I talked earlier, and we were looking for that parolee at large last week that was in our area. And there was information that was not provided to dispatch or law enforcement, but it was texted or it was posted on the social media that this person was potentially armed in front of City Hall with a firearm. That's information that needs to be 911. Like, you call 911 and say, hey, there's a person that matches the description, or just anybody. They're in front of City Hall and I saw a gun. Call us, because we will be here within minutes and we'll take that person into custody. But again, it was hours later, and it's like, well, I saw this person, they maybe had a gun, and they're walking up and down Barton. And there was some merit to that, not the firearm portion, but that particular person had been calling dispatch several times and harassing dispatchers. Deputies talked to him, and he wouldn't give his location, but he was up and down, his phone was pinging up and down Barton Road. So that person was in this city, and if he was armed with a gun, we need to know that like yesterday. We need to get people on that ASAP. So yes, please call 911.
Yes, and please don't be embarrassed, because a lot of people think they're, doing something wrong. When in doubt, call.
Yep.
I'd rather be embarrassed than second guess that somebody got killed because you were embarrassed. So, and if you're a victim, don't be embarrassed being a victim. It was not your fault. Please call. Mayor Pro Tem? Nothing? All right. Does fire department have anything? Putting out fires?
Yes, there's actually quite a few fires going on. I'm actually here because Chief Yeager is up on a fire in Northern California, currently sleeping.
So he's getting overtime.
In the forest right now, bathing in stream water. So I'm probably much more comfortable than he is.
So yeah, he's roasting marshmallows. I know what he's doing. So
he said he's more than happy to come back to visit with you guys instead of being up there in the forest. But I do have actually one thing I wanted to remind you guys of. This weekend, the 26th and 27th, we coordinated with the Office of Emergency Services for the upcoming CERT training for the citizens here. That's the Community Emergency Response Team. They're going to be doing training here. They asked for us to provide resources to help in the training. So your Grand Terrace Engine 23 will be there, as well as we're also providing some resources from San Bernardino, because they're estimating up to 60 people will be there, students will be there for the training. And so due to the large amount, up to 60 people, we're also going to provide some resources from San Bernardino, and they're going to be covering a variety of topics over the 2 days that they'll be doing the training, but our primary focus will be on fire suppression techniques the first day, which would be your fire extinguishers and that kind of thing. And then also it would be, they wanted us to speak on utilities shutoffs at homes, so your natural gas, your electricity and all that, so kind of instruct them through that. And then the other day would be about the medical training, so stopping the bleed, putting on tourniquets, packing wounds, providing the medical care that the CERT members will need. So just wanted to give you guys an update on that we will be providing training for that 2 days, coordinating with the Office of Emergency Services. They have a host of instructors that'll be there covering a variety of topics, but we'll be there for that as well.
all right, great. Well, our prayers are for the firefighters putting out the fires up there. I think every day is fire season in the state of California now. And but yeah, just be careful out there. And people, know your surroundings, clear your weeds away from your house. Don't illegal fireworks. Again, I want to fight I'll call 911 around 9:30 tonight because somebody's doing a bedtime firework every night at 9:30, so. But yeah, we got a mountain right here that'll catch on fire. We got homes right here. Just because you want to go out there and ruin everybody's night, you're going to ruin somebody's house, or whatever, and you're going to pay the price. So especially if you get caught and you destroyed property, and you will get caught. Everybody gets caught. It's like I said when I worked in the prison. I said, the inmates thought they were smart. I go, you guys aren't the smart ones. You guys are the stupid ones. You got caught. Smart ones are still out there doing it. So everybody gets caught. So there's my dad humor for tonight. I want to thank everybody for coming out here again. Thank you, Conrad, for the roads. One question, though. I know we talked about traffic signals on Mount Vernon. Can we coordinate and make sure if we do that this spring or something, that it's not during school time, it might be on their school break?
We try and do all our road work so that we don't impact school and holiday and any kind of added traffic. So we don't want to make things worse than they already are. Yes.
Okay. One last question, LT, is since school's getting ready to start, the traffic, especially the middle school, can we have the officers do an extra patrol around there? Because I don't know what's going on with people. It's all, they dropping kids, but we don't want any kids to get hurt. And, people's got to get a system going on and stuff. But please, if they could do an extra patrol around there to protect these kids, appreciate it. All right, well, we don't have anything else. Our next regular meeting will be August 12th at 6 p.m. Any request to have an item placed on a future agenda must be made in writing and submit to the city clerk. I want to thank my colleagues for the discussion. Thank you for the coalition coming out here, and thank you, everybody. God bless.